Welcome to A Year of War and Peace. I'm your host, Brian E. Denton. A Year of War and Peace is a daily, year-long, chapter-by-chapter reading of and meditation on Leo Tolstoy's epic novel, War and Peace. In these videos and podcasts, you'll be treated to a free reading of one chapter per day of the novel, plus a reflective essay I've written individually tailored to that day's chapter. These readings are offered for free, though if you'd like to support me, you can do so in one of three ways. First, you could purchase my ebook, A Year of War and Peace. It features the entire novel, plus all of my reflective essays, and it's only $2.99 on Amazon.com. You could also become a patron at patreon.com/Brian E. Denton. If you sign up there, you'll receive a sonnet once a month, plus a link to an ebook of my collected sonnets. Finally, if you like, you can make a one-time donation to my PayPal account. The email there is brianedenton@gmail.com. You can also use that email to contact me. I'd be happy to hear from you. Your support is greatly appreciated. Today's reading and reflection is on Chapter 119. Chapter 119. After Prince Andrew, Boris came up to ask Natasha for a dance, and then the aide-de-camp who had opened the ball, and several other young men, so that flushed and happy, and passing on her superfluous partners to Sonia, she did not cease dancing all evening. She noticed and saw nothing of what occupied everyone else. Not only did she fail to notice that the emperor talked a long time with the French ambassador, and how particularly gracious he was to a certain lady, or that Prince so-and-so did and said this and that Helene had great success and was honored by the special attention of so-and-so. But she did not even see the emperor, and only noticed that he had gone because the ball became livelier after his departure. For one of the merry cotillions before supper, Prince Andrew was again her partner. He reminded her of their first encounter in the Otradano Avenue, and how she had been unable to sleep that moonlit night, and told her how he had involuntarily overheard her. Natasha blushed at that recollection and tried to excuse herself, as if there had been something to be ashamed of in what Prince Andrew had overheard. Like all men who have been grown up in society, Prince Andrew liked meeting someone there not of the conventional society stamp. And such was Natasha, with her surprise, her delight, her shyness, and even her mistakes in speaking French. With her he behaved with special care and tenderness, sitting beside her and talking of the simplest and most unimportant matters. He admired her shy grace. In the middle of the cotillion, having completed one of the figures, Natasha, still out of breath, was returning to her seat when another dancer chose her. She was tired and panting, and evidently thought of declining, but immediately put her hand gaily on the man's shoulder, smiling at Prince Andrew. "I'd be glad to sit beside you and rest. I'm tired, but you see how they keep asking me, and I'm glad of it. I'm happy, and I love everyone, and you, and I understand it all." And much, much more was said in her smile. When her partner left her, Natasha ran across the room to choose two ladies for the figure. "If she goes to her cousin first, and then to another lady, she will be my wife," said Prince Andrew to himself, quite to his own surprise, as he watched her. She did go first to her cousin. What rubbish sometimes enters one's head, thought Prince Andrew. But what is certain is that girl's so charming, so original, that she won't be dancing here a month before she will be married. Such as she are rare here, he thought, as Natasha, readjusting a rose that was slipping on her bodice, settled herself beside him. When the cotillion was over, the old count in his blue coat came up to the dancers. He invited Prince Andrew to come and see him, and asked his daughter whether she was enjoying herself. Natasha did not answer at once, but only looked up with a smile that said reproachfully, "How can you ask me such a question?" "I've never enjoyed myself so much before," she said, and Prince Andrew noticed how her thin arms rose quickly as if to embrace her father, and instantly dropped again. Natasha was happier than she had been ever in her whole life. She was at that height of bliss when one becomes completely kind and good and does not believe in the possibility of evil, unhappiness, or sorrow. At that ball, Pierre for the first time felt humiliated by the position his wife occupied in court circles. He was gloomy and absent-minded. A deep furrow ran across his forehead, and standing by a window, he stared over his spectacles, seeing no one. On her way to supper, Natasha passed him. Pierre's gloomy, unhappy look struck her. She stopped in front of him. She wished to help him, to bestow on him the superabundance of her own happiness. "How delightful it is, Count," said she. "Isn't it?" Pierre smiled absent-mindedly, evidently not grasping what she had said. "Yes, I'm very glad," he said. How can people be dissatisfied with anything? Thought Natasha, especially such a capital fellow as Bezukov. In Natasha's eyes, all the people at the ball alike were good, kind, and splendid people, loving one another, none of them capable of injuring another, and so they all ought to be happy. All right, that concludes my reading of chapter 119. I hope you liked it. I will now proceed to my reflection on the same. A Year of War and Peace, Day 119. Markets and Meditations. Value investing, the style of security analysis that made Warren Buffett a wealthy man, trades on the irrationality of others. Value investors understand that the market, driven by untamed animal spirits, often overvalues or undervalues asset prices. It is in the market's mispricing of assets that value investors make their money. They pierce through the tangled yarn of faddish opinion and discover the intrinsic value of stock, investing only in undervalued companies with strong fundamentals. Benjamin Graham and David L. Dodd wrote the book on value investing. One of the earliest pieces of advice in that book, perhaps the cornerstone of the method itself, is for investors to guard against the overemphasis on the superficial and the temporary. It's really too bad that Graham and Dodd didn't publish their book until more than 100 years after the events of War and Peace. Andrew, Natasha, and Pierre could have benefited from that advice. We'll start with Prince Andrew. Sure, he's happy, ostensibly anyway. As we've argued previously, his happiness is unsustainable. It's built upon the unsteady foundations of that which is external to his own self. That's a dangerous place to construct a house of happiness. It's like building on someone else's property. But he keeps at it anyway. He even thinks of marrying Natasha today. Can you believe that? He hasn't even known her for more than 20 minutes. Slow it down, bro. Natasha, for her part, is equally as reliant for her own happiness on the superficial and the temporary as Andrew is. She's absolutely enraptured by the ball and all the attention she's receiving from the men there. She finds herself on the height of bliss when one becomes completely kind and good and does not believe in the possibility of evil, unhappiness, or sorrow. How easy, however, it would be for her to fall from such a height. She had better be careful, for as the great farmer puts it, countless miseries roam among mankind, and the earth is full of evils. Finally, there's Pierre. He keeps to himself at the ball, gloomy and unhappy. His problem is that he has become despondent, again, thinking about his wife. He is humiliated by her position in society. You would think he would have already learned how to deal with her. It's not like Helene's behavior is novel anymore. Pierre knows what he's into. Her character is no great secret. So we see that our characters invest heavily in the passing and the trivial. They do not guard against the superficial and the temporary. Each is reliant on that which they have no control over, the actions of others. They ignore developing their own intrinsic value at their own peril. Daily Meditation. Inquire of thyself as soon as you wakest from sleep, whether it will make any difference to you if another does what is right and just. It will make no difference. Marcus Aurelius, Meditations. All right, cool. That concludes my reading and reflection of chapter 119 of War and Peace. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much for joining me today. Remember that if you'd like to support me, you can do so either by purchasing the ebook, A Year of War and Peace, becoming a patron at patreon.com, or making a one-time donation at PayPal. The links to all that are below. Your support is greatly appreciated. Tomorrow, we will be reading and reflecting on chapter 120 of War and Peace. I hope you'll join me. Until then, take care of yourselves and others.